Free agency is here. Wednesday at 4 o'clock, the new league year begins around the NFL, and that is when players can officially sign with new teams. We will now take a look at the Colts and probably the three biggest needs they have going into the 2019 offseason. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball, and clearly the biggest need is finding help for T.Y. Hilton at the receiver position. It is not a great wide receiver list in free agency here in 2019. As you can see, outside of Golden Tate, it is not a very household list of names in the pass-catching department. Golden Tate, of course, traded over to the Eagles mid-season last year. Tyrell Williams does have some connections to the Colts. He is a name to keep an eye on in terms of looking for more of a big play receiver and a guy that can help the Colts out in yards after catch, which was an area that Frank Reich wants to improve on from last season. Adam Humphries for the Buccaneers, a very good slot receiver. Devin Funchess would be a guy that you're trying to tap into maybe some of his earlier potential that he had when he was coming out of college that he did not find in Carolina. And then lastly, John Brown is a guy that is probably one of the better deep threats in this free agency class. So that is the look at the receiver position. Flipping over to the defensive side of the ball and the pass rush group, remains a huge need for the Colts as they head in to the offseason. And as we know, free agency usually doesn't lead to a lot of answers in the pass rush department, but there are a few names on this list that the Colts could be interested in. Probably the most popular one is Trey Flowers, the former Patriot defensive lineman, a guy that is maybe not been the most dominant pass rusher, but is a 6 or 7 sack guy year in and year out, and can play on every down. The Smith brothers, Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith, both questions there, just projecting these guys into a 4-3 system that the Colts play here in Indianapolis and seeing if they can be 16-game starters for you and be that number one pass rusher in Matt Eberflus's defense. The last two names on this list, two popular guys that have been around the NFL for quite some time, Justin Houston and Ezekiel Ansah. We saw Houston released by the Chiefs earlier in the offseason. Ziggy Ansah is a guy that's battled some injuries and just hasn't been the same player that he was, maybe 3 or 4 years ago for the Lions. So pass rush, probably maybe the draft of some is an avenue that the Colts are probably going to have to lean more towards in finding the true answer to this, but there are some possibilities in free agency. And then lastly, let's look at the secondary. Chris Ballard has mentioned this as a need, not only safety, but the cornerback group as well. The corner class, not great. Ronald Darby is the only name that we're going to put on this list. That's why the Pierre Desir decision for the Colts will be something to monitor, because Pierre Desir himself could garner a pretty good market as he becomes a free agent nearing the age of 30. The safety class is extremely deep. Landon Collins is the headliner of that group. 1070thefan.com has an article up on why the Colts should pursue the three-time Pro Bowl safety. And then the other names at safety, and it even extends a little bit deeper than just this group that you're seeing here. Earl Thomas, Tyrann Mathieu, Clinton Dix, all three of those guys have played at a pretty high level before. Thomas, of course, being one of the better safeties in the NFL as he reaches that age of 30 again. So some names on this list that are very intriguing as possibilities for the Colts. 1070thefan.com takes a look at a few more names as the Colts head into free agency with the most cap space available. So stay tuned to 1070thefan.com. We'll have the latest, as it will be a busy month of roster acquisition around the NFL.